Hey all, here at OS Reviews. Today we're taking a quick look at the DYU T1. This is a commuter style e-bike from the same folks that created the F-Wheel D1 almost 5 years back. It was one of the first affordable small e-bikes, at the time coming with very cute 12-inch tires, but was more like a toy when you were riding it and definitely had slower top speed. In comparison, these are 20-inch tires, which are still a tad smaller than something like 26 inches on a full-sized bike, so it makes it a little bit more compact and lightweight for touting around, kind of as an in-between model between something which is really full-size and heavy-duty versus one of those tiny little e-bikes. What I do like about the T1 is the design. I think it's just very clean. The streamlined appearance is quite minimalistic. One of the more elegant appearances, I have to say, for a city commuter style bike, priced at under $1,000 with some of the reflectors on the side that also shimmers in the light, coming in colors of cyan and gray, which I think both look quite good. On the point of portability, this bike can fold down and it can even slide underneath something like a bed, the frame here weighing just 49 pounds, which is very light. Just as reference, the last electric scooter that we reviewed from GoTrax, the Eclipse, was actually around 44 pounds, so the similar weight for a scooter versus this larger bike. It's also worth mentioning that this is a torque-assisted or pedal-assisted e-bike as opposed to a full electric model. So some versions give you the ability to go full electric just using the throttle, kind of like an electric motorcycle, but this model, you do still have to turn the pedals like a regular bike, and the motors will assist you in kind of making the bike go faster. You don't have to apply as much pressure, and it will reach a faster top speed. And that is part of the reason why the built-in motors are also not quite as powerful as on larger fat tire e-bikes. This one here is rated at 250 watts. It still gets the job done and reaches speeds of up to 15.5 miles an hour without too many issues. It accommodates riders up to 260 pounds, and you're also able to climb slopes up to 15 degrees. So most city streets and pavements should work just fine. Will get you upwards of 30 miles with the pedal-assisted mode. Once the battery runs out, you can still use it as a regular bike because there are those pedals by the way, which is good. The frame here is crafted out of magnesium alloy, so very sturdy, gives it this reflective kind of shimmer, but also keeping things relatively light. And this particular model, by the way, doesn't come with a companion app, so it is super easy to operate, but also lacks a little bit more customization, which ironically they had on their first ever e-bike, that F-Wheel F1 that we saw almost half a decade ago. Time really does fly. This thing though does have Shimano 7-gear system, so you're able to change between the gears as you are climbing up different inclines to make things a little bit easier on you. And it does have a shock absorbing seat, which is a little bit more bouncy, and if you are going over a crack over the pavement, it will still seem comfortable enough, although there are no suspenders on the tires directly, as you can see there, since again this one is more of a city style commuter bike. We can see that the pedals here can even fold down, hook on the latch there, and it just locks itself into place. It has good reflectors, so it will shimmer and remind others that you are riding. Otherwise, there is also a lock here. It comes with 2 keys that you have to turn if you are releasing the battery, which by the way looks like this. And again, it's easier to just take out and prevent any theft, as well as charging it indoors if you don't want to take the bike inside. And it has a rubber flap there on the side. It takes a barrel plug and about 5 to 6 hours to completely charge. And by the way, uses this pretty simple charger that has a LED light that will turn green once the charging is complete using that plug. It does come with a lot of different wrenches and screwdrivers and accessories for first putting it together, which by the way, I would say this bike is about 90% pre-assembled. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to put everything completely together, and that includes just attaching on the front tire, just popping it on with those 2 screws, as well as the handlebar. You just have to screw in, then just pop in the seat, which is just using this one easy release mechanism. The height can also be adjustable. Tire guards that you see here using 2 additional screws on the front and the back, you also have to attach. So just a few screws to pop in. Not a very complicated process, but definitely a little bit more compared to the electric scooter, for instance, which was more of a 5-minute process. As far as operation is concerned, it is also quite simple. So closer look here at the handlebar. You'll notice that there are front and also rear brakes, so that's pretty standard these days, which are also pre-installed. And there also is a classic bell that you can chime, a simple power button that you can also use to gauge the power percentage remaining, quite simple. And then on the other side, we have the gear system. So there are two latches, one that you can press on to move it higher up, and then one that you can press down on to move the number closer down to 1. Again, changing those gears accordingly. And then finally, we have just this one key that you can press on to begin that pedal assisted mode. So it doesn't have actually a throttle, but instead just this one key with a rubber accent. But overall, it is comfortable enough to use. A view here from the front, I will mention that this larger handlebar can also be folded down just using this one lock, and it will collapse downwards. That's the headlight. And finally, if you also, again, unlatch this particular piece, you'll be able to fold the entire thing in half. I do like the fact that on this side, there is an extra kind of metal accent, which also makes it look very sleek with this almost unibody L-shaped frame. In terms of riding experience, despite not being, again, as large as a flat tire bike, it still is quite comfortable with those 20-inch tires, and which are, by the way, 2 inches thick, even if there's a few occasional cracks in the ground with the slight suspension that is built directly into the seat. It's easy to use, and again, with a little bit of pedaling motion, also makes it feel like you're doing a tiny bit of work, but still has a pretty magical feeling since it's assisting you in that entire process. Ultimately, I say you are paying a little bit more for the sleek design here when it comes to the minimalistic lines, the super lightweight foldable frame, and the overall easy operation and setup. With that being said, again, this is not the most powerful e-bike in the world. Just keep that in mind, again, primarily for paved grounds as opposed to going off terrain, and you should be mostly fine. But still, 15.5 miles an hour is nothing to scoff at, and you'll be able to, again, have the battery run a little bit longer thanks to that pedal-assisted functionality. You can check out additional details about this model if you like its design, and links down below, but for now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.